Welcome to Speaking Cinema, serious movie Jibber Jabber, a movie podcast. We made it back through the portal, and it turns out we were in your bookshelf the whole time.
The whole time.
Coming to you live from the perpetual award show red carpet that is Hollywood, California. Follow us on our social media sites. Rate, review, subscribe. I am your host, Mr. Jibber Jabber. With me today, as always, Kevin.
Can I just say, glad to be back.
Yeah, Kev. We took a little time. How was your Christmas? Meager Hall?
What?
Meager Hall?
Meager Hall?
So I'm gonna tell this. This is an embarrassing story. And friend of the show, Matt. Okay. When we were in high school, me and Matt and our other friend hanging out on Christmas night. Our parents and families, all went to bed at earlier, and we're gonna stay up until 2 or 3 in the morning watching Bravo, top 100 scariest moments in film or whatever.
There you go.
So Matt comes over. We fire up Mario Kart, Super Nintendo Mario Kart, the best Mario Kart game that's ever been made. I know you like Mario 64. You're wrong.
Mario 8's pretty great. Continue.
And so we're like, maybe I shouldn't have said his name, but fuck it. I was like, Matt, what'd you get? And he's like, I got some DVDs from this guy, and I got some because we're really into DVDs at the time, and DVDs from this one. Matt was collecting Criterions at the time,
as was I.
Yes, and then he's like, I got gift card, got this money from my grandparents, good money for this grandparents. My uncle gave me this, that, and not to throw shade on my friend Jeff who makes our music and my Christmas and our families, but we got I got a skateboard deck, and I think he got socks and some stuff. We really didn't. No one compared to where we were. Matt got maybe $500 worth of
a king's ransom of gifts.
Yeah, a king's ransom of gifts, and maybe $500 in cash and gift cards. And then he followed this all up with Meager Hall. And if you don't think that we ruined his Christmas by razzing him for hours on end, you'd be wrong.
Meager Hall.
Meager Hall.
Right. I had a good Christmas.
Good.
It was good.
Good. I had a good Christmas too. Did a lot of traveling up and down the fair coast of California. California kid. Here's my takeaway from Christmas this year. I had a lot of sweets, cookies, brownies. Yep. I'm a fan of these things, guys.
As usual.
I feel like a lot of people like to say they don't have a sweet tooth, but I think they don't know what that actually It's like,
you've just never had good sweets.
I have to have someone tell me, I straight faced, I don't have a sweet tooth, and then they opened a Coke. And I'm like, I think you're so into sugar that you've stopped seeing it. You're
just you get no joy from it.
They follow that up.
That's when you know you have a problem.
Yeah. And then they also follow that up with, if it wasn't for all these damn trees, we'd find this forest. Can't see that forest for the trees.
There you go.
I got a sweet tooth, I indulged a bit. I will say this: peanut butter cookie with that has a little indentation with the Hershey's Kiss.
Yep.
Hershey Kiss in her? No kiss. Toss the fucking kiss.
No,
or
you need a kiss.
Or if you're gonna put the kiss in there, dark chocolate, milk chocolate Hershey's Kiss on a cookie. I don't need any of this.
Give it to me. Give them all to me. That cookie could end wars. It's so good.
Listen, all I'm saying is, dark chocolate. That's the kind of chocolate I like.
Yeah, I love dark chocolate.
Also, people trying to upsell me on peppermint bark. Come on.
Get out of here.
Get out of here.
Get that cowboy bark from Trader Joe's. So much better.
Peppermint bark is just like last year's fucking candy canes.
Yep.
And we found a use for it. No, you didn't.
No, you didn't.
Stop trying to pawn this off on me. Also, if I say no, I mean no. We in our country we have a problem with people saying no. It's like, you want like a brownie? Like, no, I'm good. It's like, are you sure? It's like, no, I'm good. Like, are you sure?
Personal insult.
It's like, fuck off. Also, eggnog, mayonnaise with fucking alcohol in it. Gross.
I want to get drunk, but I also want pancakes. Eggnog.
And listen, if you want to get drunk in pancakes, you could just make some pancakes.
Get that bourbon maple syrup. You'll get drunk on pancakes.
Yeah. So I mean, Christmas.
I definitely engorged myself.
Oh, did you now? Any highlights of that?
We actually went down to San Diego the last couple days of Christmas to go to the Holiday Bowl, and we found a great place in Carlsbad called Senor Grubby's. Fantastic food, but like a burrito the size of your head. So be ready to eat when you go to Senor Grubby's. It is fantastic.
Very interesting.
Carlsbad, California.
Carlsbad.
Carlsbad. Carl's great.
Terrible. I'm not gonna cut that out of this.
You better not.
But you should be ashamed of yourself. Also, yeah, I think so. Good. I'm glad that you liked it. It's also interesting. California, there's people like to generalize California. They say like, oh, we don't get any rain in California. It's like, no, you don't get any rain in Southern California. Yep. Northern California gets a lot of fucking rain.
Although apparently we've been getting a lot of freaking rain
recently. Gonna be a lot more. And if anyone who's listening to this who doesn't live in LA, here's the thing.
Send help. No, it's fine.
When they made the gutters and the sewer in LA, they really were like, listen, when is this ever gonna really be used?
Yep.
Because it'll be raining very lightly and somehow it's flooding. It's like so
a little short-sighted city planners of the 40s and 50s.
Yeah. So like if we get like 2 inches of rain, it's really not good for driving around.
Yep.
So,
but hey, it's been raining like the dickens, and we need it, so it's great.
This time on the Jibber Jabber, it's our year-end hoedown 2016 edition, the second annual holiday hootenanny.
Woohoo!
We look back on the year through our 4K Dolby Atmos widescreen perspective on movies, the world, and all things.
As we do.
I started to listen to, this has been a, kind of a crazy week. I started to re-listen to our 2015 episode. It would be real interesting to revisit 2015 in movies.
Yeah.
Because you really see how, like, the hype of things is interesting. It's like, I think a lot of the movies that we were, like, really into would not hold up just 1 year later.
Yeah, they might not. I mean, that's sort of the ultimate conflict you always have with, the end of the year list. Is like, is this a good movie now? Or is it going to be a good movie 20 years from now? And that's always what I personally try to think about when I'm putting the top 10 list together. What movie am I going to watch 5 years?
But that's so hard. How
it is very hard. It's an impossible task. You don't know if whatever huge indie movie from 2 or 3 years ago is going to even hold up now. Mm-hmm. Looking at you, Juno.
I think, come on, Juno's not that bad of a movie, is it?
But is it the greatest movie ever? Like, people were touting it back then? Not really.
Very few things are, and listen, I am one...
I use greatest movie ever facetiously.
Yeah. I mean, I am one who throws around the greatest movie ever moniker very liberally, although The Thing is literally the best movie ever.
Everybody knows The Thing is the greatest movie ever, so... Yeah.
So it's tough to take yourself out of the context of what's going on now and really reflect on it. Because it's like, we'll get to it in a minute, but like, it's, and you see this when the hype train doesn't match the movie. Yep. Like sometimes they will give you the hype train and it seamlessly blends right into the movie. I would argue Mad Max. They're like, oh, absolutely. It is
our mutual pick for number 1 last year, Fury Road.
Indeed, it's like that the way they describe it is what you get, right? A silent, nonstop action movie. It's like, well, that's kind of what I got. But like, and spoilers for later, I would argue what they said La La Land is not what La La Land is.
True.
They said La La Land is a musical in the style of the old time, and La La Land is really an indie movie with musical numbers.
Yep, I think we'll. I have a feeling it might be in a list somewhere, so we'll talk.
So let's talk about 2016 in film. Last year we summed it up in 3 words. Kev, what 3 words for 2016?
Last year, 2015, I said good, not great. That was kind of my assumption, my assessment of last year. This year, my 3 words are fat for films, because there were so many great movies this year. We were just stacked with good talent and good stuff. Is filmmakers making exciting stuff, independent movies making a big splash, like even in smaller markets, all kinds of different racially diverse casts, movies with women, great action movies, like there's just so much good stuff this year. Like people really pushed the boundaries. And it was a nice little refresher from last year.
When I sat down to write this list, I was like, man, 2016, that was not a good year in movies. And then I started going through all the ones I saw.
Going through it.
All the ones I saw, all the ones I wanted to see and didn't see, and I was like, oh no, this was actually a really good year. It's also weird because I was like Captain America came out this year? Like, really? that seems like 7 Marvel movies ago.
Exactly.
But it was only 3 Marvel movies ago.
It was only 3 ago.
So, I agree with you.
For a year where everything else fell apart, the year in film sure was fantastic.
I agree with you, and as a related, my 3 are the same 3 I had last year, which is can't see enough.
Can't see enough.
And
this year that was especially true.
Right.
I think.
And it's always I always know it's true around Halloween time because you get a lot of indie Halloween releases and a lot of like. This year we didn't get a lot of mainstream Hollywood horror movies, but I'm always like, oh man, like I didn't see Final Girls from 2 years ago. This year seeing Hush, like I just don't have time.
Yep.
So tough, you know what I mean? A lot of good movies this year.
Yeah, once you kind of stack them all up, it's just like, man,
yeah,
a banner year.
I had a hard time making a top 10.
As did I.
I had maybe 25 movies I really liked.
I could have easily done a top 25.
Maybe we should talk about this before we start.
We'll see. No, 10. Give the 10 the honor they deserve.
So Kevin, as an unpaid podcaster who has a full-time job and moving pictures are just your passion and hobby, how many movies did you watch this year? Before we answer, 2015, you saw 40 new movies that year. Yes. 40 2015 releases.
Yes.
I saw 106 movies in total. 34 of them were from 2015. What are your numbers this year?
52 2016 movies. Now, I do not keep track of total movies I go see. Because I did see some older films. Some ones from a few years ago. Through Netflix or whatever. But this year, strictly new 2016 releases. 52.
So you averaged 1 a week. But I do know that you really powered through. Like, your December, it was like, on Facebook, Kevin is seeing this. Kevin is seeing this. And I'm like... hey man, don't forget about me when you go to see some of these movies.
And we'll get into it, but I was gone for a period of time, hence the reason why we had to
right.
put the podcast.
And you really made up for that time.
And I had to, as soon as I got back to LA, I had to go see all the big movies that I had missed. Mm-hmm.
So, I saw in total, and this surprised me, and I had to double check my math. 148 movies in total.
Wow.
Which I'm like, there's no fucking way I saw that many movies, and I had to go back to the list. I'm like. And also, my numbering is I had to correct some numbers, but it was 148 in total. On January 2nd, I started with Roman Holiday, and on December 26th, I ended with Passengers.
Very good.
Spoiler alert, that movie did not make my top.
I don't think it made anybody's.
And I watched 40 new movies from 2016.
Very good.
So,
good work.
12 under you, which I was actually surprised.
We saw 12 movies together, huh?
No, 12. You saw 12 more than me.
Okay.
I don't know. Actually, that would be an interesting thing is how many we watched together. I don't have that data for me. Often,
we'll know.
As this podcast is evidence, I'll reference a movie I saw, and then you will say, yes, I remember I was there as well. Yeah. And I'll be like, you were there when I saw The Love Witch? Huh.
Yeah. I mean, it was just a year where you just couldn't get away from them. There were so many good movies.
I will also add, in my memory, I see every movie alone, and I probably have gone to the movie alone maybe 3 times in my life.
Yeah. I do it all the time.
Go to a movie alone?
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's fun.
I gotta start doing that more.
Although, it is more fun. It's always hard when I always go see movies alone, the ones I don't think anybody else will want to see, but then it turns out it's a pretty good movie and you wish you kind of had somebody to talk about
But it's tough because, we have mutual friends who knew about The Love Witch, and it's like, how the fuck do you know about this?
Yeah, exactly.
You know what I mean? This is like such an indie release, you know what I mean?
A pretty, very minor release, so.
Well, enough of this bullshit. Time to reveal our 2016 top 10 list. As is our way, let's contextualize. These are not the best movies of 2016. There are our favorite movies of 2016. The ones that we liked out of the ones that we saw. I will say that I missed a lot. We'll get to that. And also, for further contextualization, we are 2 males, young, age 18 to 35. So not every movie this year was made for us. Nope. Not every movie. And there's an element of, and I'll quote, I don't get it, that permeates all art, and movies are no exception. So, this is our favorite movies. Here we go.
Do you want to do honorable mentions and
then
top 10?
Top 10 first.
All right.
Because if you're an honorable mention, you didn't fucking make it, all right? We're talking about the ones who came back.
Gotcha.
Only 10 came back.
Only 10 came back. It's a good movie. That'd be a good war movie.
Only 10 came back.
I'm trademarking that. By the time this airs, we're trademarking it. I'll take it.
Now, it's tough because then I guess the squad has to have more than 10 people, and then you have to have more than 10 stars. But it can be done.
It can be done. Okay. All right. Number 10 on my list. This was a movie that got a lot of hate. You hated it too. I think you're all wrong. It's the Coen Brothers' Hail Caesar. This movie is hilarious. It's very well made. I loved it. Number 10 on my list.
Interesting. Number 10. And also, I will say further, because, I can't just help but just boil things down until it's a soupy paste.
Yes.
Basically, my top 10 is 9 movies that are really, really good, and then number 1 is like the one I have to say is the best one.
Yeah.
So in no particular order, other than in somewhat of a particular order.
That's as good a list as any.
Captain America: Civil War.
Yes.
13 Marvel movies in, right? Now the friends finally fight. It was really good.
Yep.
Solid movie. You have all of these characters. We're not introducing any of them. You gotta just know who they are.
Well, they introduced a couple. Black Panther.
Yeah, that's true.
Spoiler alert: Spider-Man got introduced.
Mm-hmm. People bitch, but no one has ever done this, right?
No.
Now,
nobody's ever tried it.
Right. Well, the Universal monsters did team up, right? It was Dracula versus Frankenstein, Wolfman, and Invisible Man or whatever. They teamed up, but those movies weren't particularly good, and they didn't really this is the 13th sequel in this thing, right? Mm-hmm. That's insane.
It is.
So I just think that it's so normal when people this will be part of history that no one has ever taken franchising to this level.
Yep.
So Star Wars hasn't done it. The Fast and the Furious did it on such a minor level where they introduced different characters and then brought them all back in.
And they didn't really start doing that till the 4th or 5th movie.
Yeah.
So this was planned from the beginning to go this direction.
Right.
This general direction.
So,
and they're still making it. That movie was fun. It was vital. It was just such a good time. And we had a great time in the theater. So yeah.
Number 10.
I dig it.
Captain America: Civil War.
Number 9. A movie that I was originally going to put in the honorable mentions until I watched it again and realized just how good it really is. Shane Black's The Nice Guys, number 9, is a extremely funny, extremely well put together movie. And watching it again made me realize just how solid of a film it is. Shane Black, The Nice Guys.
Sadly, it did not make my top 10 list, but what a top shelf movie that is, right?
Really
that is the black label of movies, right?
It's the movie we need a lot more of. Mid-budget, big talent, small story.
And a lot of a lot of detail work in just exploring things, like you see the Hollywood sign looks like shit. They have the air raid sirens because this is true. There was so much smog in the 60s and 70s that there was a alert that would tell everyone to come indoors.
Yep.
So everyone who talks shit about how LA air is bad, it's been worse.
It's been much worse.
Thank you, Priuses.
Exactly.
And the EPA. Hashtag save the EPA. So that was at number 9.
Number 9.
The Nice Guys. Number 9 for me, 10 Cloverfield Lane.
Good pick.
The second most tense movie all year. Solid. Slight spoiler. I won't get into the spoilers for it, but where the movie eventually goes, we have some mutual friends who didn't like that twist, and I'm like, that's what
the whole movie is about,
right.
I think, is ultimately where it goes.
And like,
you can listen to our episode on it and find out exactly what we think.
I was listening to Max Landis, and he was talking about they're talking about a game, Firewatch. Do you play this game?
Yeah, I've heard of it. I haven't played it.
So he's like, listen, I want a thing to be the story of what it's about, like a guy, a girl, and their relationship, but also throw a Yeti in there. And that's my view on movies too, right? It's like, it's a story about this guy and who is he and what does he do and their relationship, and he's maybe is he a sinister thing, and then also the big sci-fi element too.
Yeah.
That's what I like. And it was tense as shit. Kind of in the same way as The Nice Guys, where it's like, real detail-oriented movie where they explore it really well.
And really, really dive into those characters and explore unique themes through all three of them.
Also,
and a great turn by John Goodman in in any other year, you'd think he'd get an Oscar nomination for it.
Right.
You know,
right? Well, yeah, fuck. And they have a girl crawl around in the vents. And it is as if you would, where it's like, this is tight, uncomfortable, and dirty. Yeah. This is awful.
Not roomy vents.
Number 8. So 10 Cloverfield Lane in my number 9. Number 8 for you?
Number 8. I intended to see this movie in theaters. Didn't get around to it. Saw it on a plane to New Orleans. Also, shout out to American Airlines. Fantastic selection of movies on their little screen there. And was completely charmed by it, even sitting on a small plane. Sing Street, a little movie from Ireland.
Interesting. Made a lot of top 10 lists.
And it very much worthy of it. It follows in a great tradition of small town music movies, like The Commitments, like actually that director's previous Once.
Would you say this is a musical?
Not really. God, it's hard to say. There is one scene I would define as like maybe a musical type scene, but it's a very sweet, funny, endearing story with great songs in it that both pay homage and reinvent kind of the genre they're looking at, which is 80s new wave kind of music. But it's a great little movie, and I'm sad I missed it in theaters. I would love to have seen it. Sing Street, number 8.
Number 8 for me, the most tense movie of the year, Green Room.
Oh, yes.
And, Green Room, if you're not familiar, a band goes into a neo-Nazi venue.
A punk band.
Yeah, punk band, neo-Nazi venue. They witness something, and no one's life will ever be the same. The most tense movie I saw all year, completely brutal. Not a perfect movie, but plays perfectly.
Yeah.
Right? And movies don't have to be perfect to play.
Such a good concept.
Great concept.
It's a symphony of bad decisions because people are just flawed and they're in a tense situation, and then someone will do one thing and then that escalates to the next thing, and the way they keep finding ways to just ratchet it up. It's a fantastic film.
I couldn't have said it better myself. Number 8.
You should watch Blue Ruin sometime.
I should too.
That was Jeremy Saulnier. I believe Saulnier. That was his first film. It is also very tense.
It was on Netflix for a while. I don't think it's there anymore.
It'll probably pop back up.
So
I bet you.
That was great.
Number 7.
Oh, yep. Nope. Go
ahead. Number 7. A movie. Usually the movies coming out of Sundance, I usually end up being like, that was overrated garbage. That was kind of stupid.
Mm-hmm.
This was a movie that came out of Sundance, and I thought that premise was strange, and I'll sort of give it lip service just to kind of see it. And then I saw it, and I was absolutely floored and amazed at how much it has stuck with me. It is the Daniels Swiss Army Man with Paul Dano and Daniel Radcliffe.
A divisive movie.
Divisive.
And the premise of it, of a man who is stranded on an island and finds a corpse, and the corpse becomes his friend with very surreal interactions. People, accuse it of having stunt casting, like Daniel Radcliffe, whatever. But from all reasonable minds who have seen it, seems to be a very honest movie.
It's incredibly
trying to really explore human condition.
It's incredibly endearing, and just I was amazed at how much it stuck with me afterwards, and the unique take it had on friendship and what friendship means, And it's also just very funny and very innovative, and the score is great, and I think the ending really puts it over the top. So if you skipped it just because it sounded weird, trust me, it's not that impenetrable. It's not just weird to be weird. It really is telling a good story.
And what a movie for an on-demand streaming service, right? Where you may think it's off-putting, so you could start it and if you're like, I need to bail, you could just bail with kind of no consequence.
And also, I like movies that, and this one does it, within the first 5 minutes, it kind of gives you the ultimatum of this is the movie we're making.
Yeah, are you in or out?
Are you in or out? And this movie definitely has the are you in or out moment. And so, but stick with it. Trust me. It's great.
That was number 8.
Was it 8 or 7?
7. Sorry. Number 7.
Swiss Army Man from Daniels.
Number 7 for me is a movie that I was convinced I would hate, and there's a lot of anxiety waiting for that movie to start.
But it made the top 10 list.
and that is Lion.
Ooh, I haven't seen it. I didn't see Lion.
Lion,
from the Weinstein brothers.
It's a movie about a kid who gets lost in India and then later in life discovers that Google Maps is a thing and tries to use Google Maps to find his hometown. No spoilers. This is a movie about cute things being lost, in this case, a little kid. If you are at all familiar with my take on movies or this podcast, you know that is something I don't like.
Don't like cute things being lost. Don't like bugs.
Emily was like, listen, you have to come with me to see this movie. Friend of the show, also my girlfriend Emily.
Yep.
And she's like, you gotta come, you gotta do it, you gotta see it, you're gonna love it, it's gonna be great. And I'm like, fuck. And then we went and we saw it, and it is great. I will say this, and this is something that was a barrier to me. It is not a movie about a guy in 2000 and whatever looking back on his life intercutting. It's all of the past and then all of the present. So you don't see Dev Patel for like maybe, 70 minutes.
Wow.
You know what I mean?
Into what I presume is a 2-hour movie.
Yeah. So it's like it's not this nostalgic thing. And it's really honest. The first half of the movie is in a different language. You know what I mean? It's in Hindi. So it's just done so expertly well. Wow. And I feel like that's a theme that we're talking about. These are just movies that are just craftsman fucking houses.
And all done differently, too. Craftsman in a different way. It's not like everybody just made good noirs this year or whatever.
Right.
It's like, not everybody made The Nice Guys, although I kind of wish everybody made The Nice Guys.
Sure.
Everybody did something bold and in a completely different direction. So, that's good to hear.
And The Lion is no exception.
I'm going to check that out now. So
that was number 7, Lion.
Number 7.
Number 6 for Kev.
Number 6. It's kind of an interesting movie for me this year. This is a film about personal tragedy. And I saw it before my own personal tragedy happened.
I know what you're talking about.
You know where I'm getting at, right?
Mm-hmm.
So the movie is Andrew Dominik's One More Time with Feeling.
Okay, I did not think that's what you're talking about.
I'm curious, what do you think?
I don't even know what this, I don't think I even heard of this movie.
This is a documentary about Nick Cave.
Oh, I'm back on track.
Yep, we're back here. Nick Cave, great singer. We have an episode. I think we'll probably re-release it. He did a documentary a few years ago, 20,000 Days on Earth.
We released that episode.
So Nick Cave, rock and roll singer. His son died. His 15-year-old son died in an accident.
Fell off a cliff.
Tragically. Living in Brighton Beach, where there are very steep cliffs, his son fell off a cliff. And it's just a film about having to keep going in wake of just this horrible tragedy.
Right.
So it's...
AKA life.
But it's the way they really dig into the heart of not only what grief is, but how you can really... the best way... I don't want to say the best way, but a way to deal with it.
Mm-hmm.
And just... It's beautifully shot. It's in black and white. Oh, there's one sequence in color. One key sequence in color. You could almost call it a musical because there's musical segments in it because it's all about the making of his new album, Skeleton Tree.
Right.
And you hear each song in full. But it's...
oh, really?
Yeah, each song... Each song kind of gets its own little mini music video in the film. And so I saw that before my own tragedy. My mom passed away this year. Mm-hmm. Which is, we'll just say full out, that's why we had to put the podcast on hold. I was gone for a good chunk of time. And it hit me then, and it hits me even more now, looking back on coping with grief, living with it. Because it's really about, a tragedy befell you, but you still gotta go to your job. You still gotta eat. You still gotta put clothes on. You still gotta get your morning coffee if you're not waking up,
Right, because as you are the center of your own universe, which is all of our inalienable right, you are not the universe.
You are not.
And the universe keeps going on.
Yep.
Which is its own tragedy, but it's also its own beauty.
Exactly.
Right.
That's really... I've never seen a film toe that line so well. Mm-hmm. And I got it before it happened to me, before I even knew it was going to happen to me, and then very much so afterwards.
Right.
So, Andrew Dominik's One More Time with Feeling, number 6.
That's a tough... It's only a tough one. I haven't seen it around a lot. Had a kind of a weird release.
It had a very limited release, so I think you don't see it on a lot of top 10 lists, but I don't feel like anybody who saw it wasn't affected by it.
Right. And according to Rotten Tomatoes, it's not currently streaming anywhere.
Yeah.
So that's hopefully people will be able to see this sometime soon because it's universally beloved. So it's an interesting movie. I would like to see it, but it's like
what's interesting too is his album that came out because it came out that same day. Skeleton Tree is on like everybody's top 15, 20 album list of the year. So people heard the album but maybe didn't see the movie. So hopefully it gets to the audience it needs to because it is very much worth seeing. So,
One More Time with Feeling.
One More Time.
I want to see it. My number 6, also about grief, memory, how those things work in time, but then also about communication, language, relationship, global citizenship. 2016's Arrival.
Ooh, good pick.
Which we saw together. The day after election.
After an election that didn't necessarily go the way we were hoping it would.
As a genre piece, it's super interesting because it's an alien movie that's not about an alien invasion. It's not about an alien being your best friend. It's really about, like, the first contact with a civilization in a way that really it could still happen in our world, but it has, we've circumvented the globe, right? There's not really new people to contact.
Yeah.
And that's profound because it's a thriller, not an action movie, and not an invasion movie, and not a horror movie. It's just it's almost like a political thriller.
Yep.
And it's just a real interesting, artfully made movie about communication and loss and all the things I just said. And I don't know, man. It's a deep movie, and that's not alienatingly deep.
And the way that it uses our knowledge of film against us,
yes,
in a good way, in a way that we say, oh, wait a minute, we took this thing at face value because we know this about movies, but then we find out they flip the script on us in a brilliant way.
Right, and specifically, there's a lot of that in there's scenes that they cut to, and you don't know if they happen. If they're thinking backwards or thinking forwards, and maybe there's a reveal later that some of the flashbacks are actually flash forwards, and then you're like, holy shit!
Exactly.
And then something I really want to see again. So number 6.
Apparently, people have said that second viewing of Arrival is very, very telling.
Right.
So
so a real somber number 6 for both of us.
It was, but great art doesn't necessarily have to fill your spirit with joy. It can help you reflect on your own personal grief.
And while that is true, my top 5 do not reflect that. Because my top 5 are all fucking...
I mean, my top 6, or top 7.
Mm-hmm.
7. No. I was pretty comedy stacked there up front.
Right.
So, but then we kind of get the downer with One More Time with Feeling. And then we're going to find out what happens.
We're going to find out. And we're going to find out right now.
Right now. Number 5. This is a movie from a studio that just keeps getting better with each release. Keeps finding new ways to be very innovative, tell a great story. I think a studio that bested another big studio at their own game this year. The studio that got bested was Pixar, and they were bested by Laika with Kubo and Two Strings.
Interesting.
This is a great, great little film. And it's actually not fair to call it little, because it has a very epic scope.
Mm-hmm.
And it's, it's told through stop motion, traditional stop motion. It tells a very bold story with some tropes we're familiar with. Familiar quest type tropes and sequencing and characters that we're not completely unfamiliar with. But the way that it really uses them, and I think also kind of tells a story about grief and loss in just a very profound way, with just beautiful animation, great action scenes. And there's a scene on a boat made of leaves that I cannot believe was done with like little puppets, one frame at a time. It's a very elaborate, complicated piece of work, and it was a fantastic movie.
And I'm ashamed I didn't see it.
And check it out. It's on Blu-ray now. Kubo and the Two Strings, they absolutely knocked it out of the park. So by proxy on my list, the best animated film of the year.
Interesting.
Yes.
Interesting. My number 5 is Deadpool.
Deadpool is a good time.
It's hard to believe that Deadpool came out this year. It feels like forever ago. It was February. And normally I wouldn't say this is like part of the movie, but the advertising campaign for this movie was just fucking amazing.
I think it got most of the people in, because I wasn't even really familiar with who Deadpool was. I knew he was kind of the Bugs Bunny of Marvel, but I didn't know much. I didn't know much beyond that.
Bugs Bunny or Daffy Duck, you be the judge.
You be the judge.
But the ads, there's some straightforward like superhero ads. There was a fake romantic comedy ad. There was the emoji ad. It's just so that already was like priming you for what this thing is gonna be.
The big publicity image was him on the bearskin carpet in front of the fireplace. Mm-hmm. It's people who are clearly superhero fatigued saw this and said, okay, what's going on now? Something different is coming up here. So.
Also, based on the box office grosses from this year, I don't think that superhero fatigue is actually a real thing.
It's not.
But so Deadpool, the most fun you're gonna have all year. An R-rated horror, R-rated superhero movie shows that it can be done, that it can be fun. Just really good.
Yep. And it doesn't have to be this brooding, dark thing to be R-rated.
Yeah.
It can be this
fun in the sun,
very much lighthearted movie. But there's beheadings and masturbation jokes.
And so many funny scenes. So many
great moments.
Right. So
and I got a nice pint glass out of the ArcLight Cinema for it. So
very good.
Nice
very
little
good.
Deadpool pint glass.
Number 5. That was Deadpool.
Tim Miller's Deadpool. Not coming back for the sequel, though. Tim Miller. So.
Well, the future gets the future. It's a dim future.
It is. So, all right, number 4 for me. This movie was my number 1 for a very long time.
Interesting.
On this list. It was holding fast, and it got bumped to 4, not based on the quality of that, but on the quality of what came after. So, this is still a great film. I think will be a great film for a very long time. It is Robert Eggers' The Witch. The first movie we saw, actually, no, I guess the second movie I saw this year. First movie I saw was Hail Caesar. The Witch is a stunningly good horror movie. And when you consider they made it for like $1 million, it looks completely authentic.
Yeah, an authentic period piece.
An authentic period piece on a very small budget. Tells what I think is a very interesting story about Satan as a feminist, as maybe the first feminist,
which is interesting because I'd say that my interpretation of the movie is she goes from one male-dominated society to a second male-dominated society.
True, and you can certainly leaves that interpretation open
for a period piece horror movie. A lot of different ways to skin a cat.
There's many ways to do it. So, and there's genuinely terrifying scenes, but never any jump scares. I don't feel.
No, not in any earnest way.
Maybe one, but it gets its horror in a way that really just digs under your skin. It's like a scarab, like a gnat, and it's so good. And I've watched it 3 or 4 times since then. Watched all the special features on it. It's just, this guy is a great talent. He's an interesting dude. And I can't wait to see what he's got next. So, which apparently is a Nosferatu remake.
Yeah, hopefully it will live deliciously.
It will live life deliciously.
So you had number 4. You had The Witch.
The Witch.
A horror movie. I also had a horror movie at number 4. The Girl with All the Gifts.
Oh, I didn't see this.
So I saw this at a film festival. I don't remember.
Fantastic Fest?
Spectral Fest? Fantastic Fest? That's not. Wait, is that in LA?
I don't know. So I know it played at Fantastic Fest, wherever Fantastic Fest is.
I saw it at a film festival in here. I don't remember which one it was. It doesn't matter because this is a zombie movie that is done in. We're really broadening the zombie genre. I think people talk about it as zombie fatigue. It may be real, but I do think that there's very interesting takes on horror that have happened in the last few years. Warm Bodies was a zombie zombie romance movie that I feel like really worked, and I feel like this one works too. I don't want to spoil it. I don't think it's been released massively. It's kind of a cheat of a pick, but it's really great. It's a really interesting new take on zombie stuff that still feels it transcends the genre while being entry in it, right? So you get your zombie stuff, but there's enough there to push it out of its comfort zone.
Very good.
So I really liked it. It's great. that takes us to the top 3. I really struggled with the top 3. I think my top 3, as soon as I commit to them, I'll instantly regret the order that they're in. But we'll just get right into it.
Just a consequence of this year where there was so much good stuff.
Also, have we picked 2 of the same movies yet?
I don't think we have.
I think, unless this top 3
some of your tops are in my honorable mentions.
And some of your tops are in my honorable mentions too. So I think we might not
this
have
year.
Yeah.
It's not so bad.
We might not have consensus though for a top movie. We'll see.
Well, this last year was pretty chalk. This year I think it's going to be wildly different.
All right. So number 3 for you is?
Number 3. Damien Chazelle's La La Land lands at number 3.
Interesting.
This was, the more I stew on it, the more I just love this movie.
Mm-hmm.
I got the soundtrack. I've listened to the soundtrack. The way that it uses the musical format, not to just be a throwback musical, but to tell a really interesting story about dreaming big and living your life and, you know, reaching for the stars, but it has such a different take on it too. Like it adds a layer to it that I don't think any movie in that sort of subgenre has ever really taken. And
of musical or
of like the live your dream.
Oh, that
movie.
subgenre. Yeah.
I think it takes a level that it was very unexpected when I saw it, and just expertly uses the musical format. Long take, like most of the numbers are in one take.
Yeah.
Which is insane. You know, Ryan Gosling and Emma Stone aren't professional singers and dancers, but by God, they could be after that. You know, you can't hide anything when you're doing one take, and it's especially coming off of his previous movie Whiplash, which was also my number 3 the year it came out.
Oh, interesting. He's destined to runner up.
He'll be the bride one of these days, I feel. That guy's Damien Chazelle's got a bright future.
What jazz related story will he come up with next?
Yeah. That is my one caveat. No more jazz movies, Damien Chazelle. You did 2. That's fine. No more.
Or the next 3 movies, no jazz, and then you make an epic jazz.
You can make the epic. Maybe you can make the Frank Sinatra biopic, you know.
Scorsese's out.
He's out. Scorsese's out. But, so yeah, this movie was extremely well made. A completely original musical. It's not like, oh, a musical influenced by the Beatles or whatever. It's all the songs are completely of their own. Just bold filmmaking, extremely well made. Lots of fun in a year, at a time in the year when we kind of needed a little boost. It's a great movie. La La Land, number 3.
Number 3 for me. Star Wars Rogue One.
Ooh, very good.
This is the Star Wars movie we always wanted. It's a gritty Star Wars. Suck it, Warner Brothers. With your stupid fucking gritty DC universe that no one cares about.
Nobody likes.
Which was not true because lots of people pay a lot of money to go see them.
But not as much as Captain America Civil War.
This movie is, it's a good movie. First things first. And a bold movie to put in a franchise, right? Mm-hmm. That's the thing. Here's the thing about franchise. Everyone always says the third one sucks, right? Because by the third one, everyone knows it's real, right? We have something.
Yep.
So then everyone is fighting not to fuck it up. And people's instinct is to not be bold, right? What do people always tell you? Don't be weird. Don't get negative attention on you. Don't, whatever.
Play it safe.
Play it safe. And this is not a play it safe movie. And if you think it is, it's only because it's so good.
Yep.
And spoilers for Rogue One, they kill fucking everybody.
Everybody dies.
And then there's a moment where you realize everyone dies, and there's all the other rebels up in space, and you think, okay, well, they'll all get away. No, they're all gonna die too.
They all die too.
So that's the thing about this movie, is that it's bold. It is not afraid to break the heart of the audience. It had a real weird reshoot thing where 100% of the footage in all trailers is not in the movie, which is like...
Almost, yeah. The trailers are basically mood trailers at that point. They're not actual content trailers.
Which I really liked.
I'm kind of for it, you know?
Mm-hmm.
We don't need to give anything away. It's like, you got me into the theater. Now just give me that thing that you told me you were going to give me. So.
I don't want to focus on the negativity here, because I just think that the movie itself is just so supremely
It doesn't feel like a movie that was completely chopped up in reshoots.
Right.
Now, some people have said to them it feels like that, and to them I say, fuck you.
Yeah. And there's great characters that you love, and then they die, and you're sad.
Yes.
And it's also a complete and total indictment on George Lucas because our cultural apprehension on prequels is because of him and his prequels. This is a prequel with a known ending. We know that none of these characters are going to be in any of the future movies, right? So you'd think maybe some of them would survive, but then, they're not going to be there. No, this movie rocks, and it redefines the prequel. On this podcast, we talked about this movie coming up, and I was like, I'm apprehensive. I don't need information I already have. You know what I mean? And they give you new information. It makes all of the Star Wars sequels way better.
It does give him a punch up, It
fixes Darth Vader from being kind of a caricature to being a badass motherfucker.
Yep. A scary motherfucker, which is another bold move. It's like, this guy walks around Disneyland, Kids want to go be with him. It's like, not anymore. They should be fucking scared of Darth Vader now.
And it proves to me that you can make stories outside of the Skywalker family saga in this universe.
Well, in Disney, they invested a lot of money in it, and this was their first test to people criticize Force Awakens for sticking too much to the main thing, but it makes sense in that one because it is part of the main story,
Right, and also Star Wars needed to be fun again.
It needed to be fun again. But this one, they really let their freak flag fly a little bit. They said, we can do anything we want with this story. What are we going to do with it? And kudos to Gareth Edwards for taking him up on that offer.
And kudos to the other guy who directed all the
Tony
reshoots.
Gilroy.
So he did a great job too.
And again, I think maybe the beginning is a little not quite as smooth as it could be, but it never feels like it's not from the same movie.
Well,
not in the way like Fantastic Four feels like two different movies.
And that's ultimately why it got number 3. I think there's 2 points where there's the point where it goes from her being a little kid to her being to where we start the story, and that transition is like, do we miss a reel?
Yeah,
you know what I mean? Like,
it's pretty abrupt.
It's like I'm 7 years old, I'm now 21, and I'm being captured by the
Empire.
The Empire. It's like it's a weird juxtaposition, but it's a great movie.
Yep,
it's a great movie.
I thoroughly
Number 3, Star Wars.
Number 2, this was my number 1 that knocked down The Witch for a bit, and I struggled with 1 and 2. I ultimately put this one at 2 because it's only this director's second film. Not that that's a knock against him. He's a young guy. It's fine. And I think it might... I can't tell if it's going to be a story of the moment or if it's going to last a while. Kind of what we were talking about. Is this just a good movie this year? I think it's going to be a great movie in many years to come. But that's kind of ultimately why I put it at 2 as opposed to 1. But this is a coming-of-age story that I've never seen anybody even attempt to do it this way, and they absolutely knocked it out of the park, and they did it in less than 2 hours. Barry Jenkins' Moonlight is such a good piece of work. Brilliantly acted by the same characters played by 3 different actors at various ages. I said it's about a young gay black man growing up in the South, in this case Miami, and it's told, there's a segment where he's like 7 or 8. There's a segment when he's in high school, and then there's a segment when he's a young adult, when he's in his like mid-20s, And it's shot really well. The score is incredible. And the last the third act of this movie rips your heart out in the best way possible. And I've never seen anybody try to be this bold before. And again, it's impressive that it's only a second movie. I really hope it's a movie for the ages. Now, why do I think maybe it won't stand that test of time? Because we're kind of in a time where we're talking a lot about race, where we're talking a lot about sexuality. Is this just a movie of the moment and we're just really feeling those emotions right now? Or will we look back on and be like, wow, we were all stupid in 2016?
Well, but the movie might reflect that. Who knows?
It might.
So, an interesting choice, nonetheless.
It's an absolutely stunning piece of work. Number 2, Moonlight.
Number 2 for me, a movie also about race. It's interesting how these parallels have happened here. A movie also about race through the furry eyes of animals, Disney's Zootopia.
Zootopia.
Number 2.
Wow.
So this is a movie about race. And again, I would argue a very bold movie.
It is.
Because it is about race. I think a lot of people...
It's not a cute adventure with like a little race story kind of woven in it. It's like the bones of the story that they're building on are about racism in America.
It's also, as just a piece of art, they all live on this huge mountain, and that's Zootopia. And the way that they've blended all of the different environments, where the rainforest drips into the
snow area.
The snow area. Or the
desert area.
Yeah, all this kind of... how it's all connected. It's the snow area drips into the rainforest, right? And then the snow area is on one side, and there's a gigantic heater thingy that's like... makes the desert on the other side. Yep. So it's pulling in the cold air and pushing out the hot air. Just so good.
Yeah, just all the design choices are really brilliant.
That's what I'm trying to say, Kev. All the design choices are brilliant. The story's brilliant. It's talking about race in a very honest way. It's not just racism is bad. The bunny fears the fox, and the fox fears the bunny's judgment of him. Mm-hmm. And they both create a life based on those fears and those apprehensions, right?
And it creates a really strong moment where the protagonist, Judy Hopps, realizes she's part of the problem. Mm-hmm. Which Disney movies really don't do that. Movies really don't do that.
Right.
It's to really like put all of the prejudices that she's kind of naively followed right in her face, and then she has to react to it. It was an absolutely stunning moment which I was not expecting in Zootopia.
Yes, indeed.
So, no, it was great stuff. So
that was my
kudos to Disney again for not taking the easy route as much these days. Just really telling interesting, bold stories. It's the word we're using a lot in this list. Interesting, bold, intriguing.
Maybe that should have been the 3 words for 2016. Interesting, bold stories.
Maybe. There we go.
Number 1.
Number 1 for me. So I ultimately picked this one because I think this will be a great movie 50 years from now. 100 years from now. Very few directors. Just the act of them releasing anything is a moment that needs to be celebrated. But certainly this one, I think, is in a career full of masterpieces, he might have made his masterpiece. It's Martin Scorsese's Silence.
Interesting.
This, I was speechless at the end of this movie.
Spoil it.
Damn it, you got me. I was in silence at the end of it. It is just
the titular silence.
Such a bold vision of Scorsese's wrestled with his faith through his whole career, through all of his films. Mm-hmm. His characters wrestle with it. He's personally wrestled with it. Never in a way that it's openly questioned and ultimately thought of as maybe this is wrong. And I'm not saying that's why the movie's great because it says maybe I'm wrong. But it's the way it shows, the way the character's ego is played with on both sides, both from the Catholic Church and the persecuting Japanese in the Edo era of Japan. That constant push-pull of this story and the way his faith is tested in it is very uncompromising, tough to swallow sometimes, but in a way that you're moved in a way you don't even expect to be moved. And then in an ending sting that, not to give too much away, but the title Silence is up for debate, I think, as to what that really means in the film.
Interesting.
And then on top of that, it is beautifully shot, beautifully put together. It stands up there with some of the best of Akira Kurosawa, some of the best of Orson Welles, some of the best of David Lean, some of the best of any historical epic that anybody's ever tried to tackle. And I think for a guy who's in his 70s, still making films this vital, and that can stack up with Raging Bull, with Goodfellas, with Mean Streets, with seminal films that he has made throughout his life, and this one can walk right next to it. I had to put it at number 1.
Interesting. Silence by Martin Scorsese, number 1 of the year.
And again, it's a slow movie.
3 hours, right?
2 hours, 41 minutes.
That's 3 hours.
It's 3 hours. Once you have the trailers in there. But no, it is absolutely worth a watch.
Wow.
It is a stunning piece of work. And I feel like it's even not getting, it may be even a little underrated right now, because I feel it came out late in the year.
I have not really heard anything about it at all.
It's
you've actually intrigued me to this movie, because I saw the trailer and I was like, hard no.
Honestly, I was like, hard yes.
Well, you're a Scorsese.
I'm a Scorsese. I'm a boy. So, and by boy I mean I'm a Scorsese. Like, he's my boy.
Right.
You know?
Right.
But yeah, I feel it kind of came out late in the year. People are a little turned off by like, oh, it's 3 hours. Oh, it's kind of slow.
But great.
Take the dive. It is a master working at the top of his level, and it feels like this is almost a culmination of everything he's been trying to do in his career. Brilliant. Silence.
So Kev's number one pick for the year was Silence. So far, no overlap, and that will continue, because my number one movie of the year is a movie we saw together, Moana.
Really?
Wow. Moana.
The Witch, nowhere in your top 10, huh?
It's an honorable mention, and it may be a victim of its own release date.
Okay, that's fine.
Being much earlier in the
February.
year. I just feel like and I think my list doesn't really have too much horror on it, which is pretty surprising. Green Room being the closest thing, which I would consider a horror movie, because that movie was scary as fuck.
Terrifying.
But back to Moana. Not to be negative, it's better than Frozen, I thought.
Well, yeah. I think a lot of things are better
Sure.
than Frozen, personally.
But I just think that movie is just kind of a flawless movie for what it's trying to do, right?
Sure.
The songs are super lovable. The characters are super lovable. The jokes are funny, but it's not stupid. It's not stupid kid jokes. It's great family jokes.
Yeah.
And it's just like...
Nobody says hashtag anything. It's not a 2016 joke. It's just a good joke.
Right, right. And it's just like... It's a movie about a girl who is like a Disney princess, but it's none of the tropes, there's no romance in this movie. It's just a very heartfelt... It's like... there's no like one thing that like makes this movie better than everything else. It's not like the visuals. It's not the characters. It's just that everything in it is just so perfectly done that it's almost like you're like, oh yeah, that's just a perfect movie. You know what I mean? There's no ranting and raving about it. It's just like when it was over, it's like, yeah, that was just exactly what it was supposed to be. Yep. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
You got funny, great villains. You got scary, great villains. You got frustrating villains and her father.
They finally broke their little loop they had going, which they actually do in Zootopia, of there's a good guy, but they end up being the villain.
Right, right.
Disney finally broke that loop a little bit, so.
And when total spoilers for Moana, Maui steals a fucking gem or whatever from the goddess, who is an island, and then the gem gives him the power, and then when he's running away and he loses it, and then they have to find Maui, find the gem, and restore it. When they finally get back to that island, they make it past the lava monster, and the fucking island's gone, and she realizes the lava monster is the goddess, and now because she's angry.
Yep.
And it's like, that moment was just like, holy shit! I remember in the theater just being like, what? And then there's a great slow motion moment where the monster's running at her, she's like walking on the water or whatever. It's just fucking, it's just, I'm talking in circles. It's just my favorite movie of the year.
That was an unexpected pick. I'm happy you did it.
And Disney, who historically I never was a Disney kid growing up. I was never like, this is my, my brother loved Aladdin. Everyone else loved all the other Disney shit, Lion King. Those movies to me are okay. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The shit that they're doing now is what I love. You know what
I mean? In every property they have, they're doing their absolute top work right now. And that's... I can live with that.
If we're to extrapolate anything from this year, they're winning movies.
They are.
And
they got Marvel, they got Star Wars, they have their own properties, and they're absolutely crushing all of them.
And they're not just like winning movies because they have the fucking heavy franchises. They have the heavy franchises, and they're doing the right things with
stuff with them. They're letting the filmmakers make the movies they want to make. Yeah. We saw when we watched, to go back to Zootopia, we were watching the special features on that. They scrapped that movie like halfway through production. Like, they said, this is not working. And Disney said, okay, start over.
Right.
And gave them the time, the money, the talent, and the resources to start over.
And if you look at Moana, I don't know if they got that far, because I feel like with Zootopia they got pretty far and they scrapped it.
Yeah, I mean, we just don't know a lot about Moana behind the scenes just yet, but we will.
Right, and from what I do know, the script process went through a lot of start overs where Taika Waititi of Thor Ragnarok directing fame wrote the first draft, and it went in iterations where her dad goes on the adventure with her, or she has to save her dad and whatever. And you always look at like with all of these Disney Pixar movies, you look at all the other versions, you're like, ooh, I would not like that.
Exactly.
Like Frozen, it's like it was about two armies of snowmen, and I'm like, what the fuck are we talking about?
Exactly.
And then
that's where you exercise all your bad ideas is in the writing.
Yeah.
So it's those ideas were never really meant to be seen beyond that, and that's the whole point, is that's you get all the bad ideas out, so then you kind of distill it down. What are we really trying to do here? And then you find it.
Indeed, and they found it. So
Moana,
number one. Our list pretty different. So let's extrapolate some stuff from this. And what we have to extrapolate is what's our movie of the year. But seeing how we had literally no overlap on our list, and
one.
It would be silly to pick something not on the list, right?
Yep.
I'd say we're deadlocked. There's no consensus. 2016 is just too big of a year to pick one movie.
It is.
And as such, no movie is our 2016 pick of the year.
Yeah. I can say that. Right. Yeah.
And I think to this year's credit, there's no year. There's no pick.
And it's a testament to how good this year was. Mm-hmm. Not in a I don't know, this one. It's just there was too much good stuff, and good in different and varying exciting ways, that we can't pick a consensus. We can't.
2015, Mad Max Fury Road. 2016, no consensus. 2017, Fate of the Furious. I'm calling it now.
Oh boy. Oh jeez. Kurt Russell, he's gonna put it over the top.
Do you see anything from your list that, I mean, my list, that you look at your list, do you see any like trends or whatever? I feel like my list is obviously very pop culture, and I think in comparison to your list illustrates that perfectly, right? Mm-hmm. You have the smaller releases, the more minimal budgets. I think if you combine the budgets of my movies all together, it'd be $5 billion.
True. But again, but you didn't pick one movie on that list that I would say, oh, that was terrible.
And I hadn't seen all the movies on your list, but there's no movie on your list that I'm like,
you hated Hail Caesar. You hated it.
Oh wait,
you hated Hail Caesar.
Oh wait, yeah, Hail Caesar is the only one.
And you're wrong.
But I can see how someone could like that movie. I didn't like that movie, but it's not like it's not like you picked Transformers 4, where I'm like, which by the way, I'm sure. At some point in this file's existence, someone will be like, this motherfucker is shitting on Transformers 4, but he picks,
He picked Moana.
Yeah, he picked his number 1 and 2 movie of the year.
Silence was boring.
Yeah. So,
and
it's all relative.
Future person, fuck you.
Yeah. Go to hell, motherfucker. I like pop culture stuff, but I do think that a lot of my movies had social messages, and feminist kind of ideas, either implicitly or explicitly. I think that Star Wars didn't have it explicitly, but implicitly, the lead of the movie is a woman in what is arguably the biggest franchise of all time.
In a multiracial group of people.
Right. So there's no, it's not Zootopia. I mean, Zootopia's not slapping you in the face, but I would think it'd be very hard to read that movie without seeing that. Whereas I think someone could watch Star Wars and be like, oh, you know what? There was a lot of Asian dudes in that movie. Yep. You know what I mean?
I always think of the scene in Zootopia when the big fat gay leopard gets fired, or it gets moved down, like the heartbreak on his face. We've known this character. We know he's not a predator. We know he's not scary, but he's a predator species, quote unquote. He's a leopard. Mm-hmm. And so that's when the real heartbreak of that movie comes through.
Right.
So, again, good work on Zootopia.
Indeed. So, and apparently my favorite studio is Disney?
Yeah.
I'm shocked.
Knocking it out of the park with you. Hey, doing it with me too. They're doing strong. They're letting filmmakers make the films they want to do. Now, do they put some genre stuff in there and some franchise stuff? Of course. They got to make money. It's this
right, and you got to
It's not the movie art, it's the movie business. And guess what? Disney is investing a lot of money in these things. But they let Gareth Edwards make a war movie. They let the Russo brothers make
political thriller.
A political thriller that just,
superhero hybrid.
Yeah, that just so happened to have a lot of superheroes in it.
So a really interesting time in that studio. Anything from your list that pops out at you?
I would just say mine is strong voices from individual filmmakers, which honestly is what I usually gravitate towards. But yeah, just completely different stories. Some are, the nice guys. Nobody really, there's a little grief moments in Nice Guys, but it doesn't color the movie. It's a fun detective story.
Mm-hmm. Where Silence is a real down.
Silence is a very, one or two light moments in that, and it's just, that's a big old porterhouse steak of a movie,
With no sides.
With no sides. One More Time with Feeling is a very stark look at grief. But then you get La La Land, which is this explosion of happiness and joy, and just makes you feel good afterwards, even if I think there's things in the ending that, they put the little twist on it and it's a bit of a downer. But you sure, goddamn it, you feel good after you watch it, So yeah, just big varying
levels of bittersweetness.
Yeah, very bittersweet.
Mm-hmm. So some sweet with a sweet and sour soup. Uh-huh. Some a big pile of just Sour Patch Kids. But,
exactly. But yeah, again, strong voices from individual filmmakers.
Indeed. So that's it for us this time. 2016, so big, we're going to take another episode to finish it off. This was our top 10 list. These are our favorite 20 movies, 20 different movies.
Very different.
So many more things to talk about, conclusions for the year that was. So we're going to get out of here, and then we'll be back. Kev, this episode was written by me and you.
Yes.
Music by Jeff Russell. Tune in next week. Same bad time, same bad channel.
Same bad hoedown.